Okay, so Content Deputy is a series that Idubbbz has that's always following the previous most recent Content Cop. Whenever he does a big critique video, he always does a Content Deputy afterwards to sort of sift through the rubble, assess the fallout from the whole situation, and respond to whoever he's critiquing's response. We got Content Cop H3, now we got Content Deputy H3. Now I'm already on the record saying the Content Cop was pretty lame, at least compared to all the other videos in his series. This one was really lacking in entertainment. None of the jokes landed, and there weren't really any skits except for that massive cringe fest at the beginning. And it was just fucking boring. Like, seriously, there's so much good stuff to criticize H3 for. And Idubbbz spent an hour just ranting about their own personal beef that they had going back and forth. Like, all the other previous Content Cop videos solely focused on the person in question's content and picking apart their overall entire career on YouTube. The H3 Content Cop had none of that. It was just a super petty beef. And honestly, in the end, if you're a Hassan meat rider, you probably thought the Content Cop was good because it was shitting on Ethan. And if you're an H3 fan, you probably thought it was trash and really scummy what Idubbbz did. Everyone's just off in their own echo chambers. Meanwhile, me over here, I'm just mad I didn't get to point and laugh at anybody. It was just really a snooze fest. You guys already know the drill. Let's just get this over with.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Content Deputy. Now normally in a Content Deputy I would dance around in my cop outfit in the woods, but this video isn't going to have any of that fanfare. We're just going to get straight into it.
And again, that right there is one of the problems with Ian's return to the Content Cop series. It used to be creative. It used to be entertaining. He used to have a lot of fun making them. There's no need to even call these videos Content Cop anymore. Just title them I'm Angie, like your Pokemon.
I was hoping that if I made a video about Ethan, he would act like an adult and he would keep the attacks directed at me and Anissa.
Yeah, is Ian retarded? Does he not realize that he teamed up with all of Ethan's biggest haters of the last few months? And honestly, he keeps talking about maturity, but like, hot take, the older Content Cops were more mature than this most recent one. Like I said, the most recent one was just a bunch of petty drama. Previous Content Cops actually had substantive critiques levied at the creator. I'm not saying Ian never made any decent points at all against H3. I'm already not a big fan of Ethan Klein either. But all of this started over a petty disagreement. I'm not sure what kind of mature response he was expecting after he was doing a fucking Fortnite dance.
Unfortunately, I was wrong in thinking that because Ethan, in a desperate attempt to attack and smear Anissa and I, he started attacking our charity event.
I don't know if you know this, but last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity, Hassan. You have to give money to be charity. It's like a slush fund for them.
Yeah, calling it a slush fund isn't entirely accurate, although Ethan clearly was kind of being a little facetious there. Creator Clash absolutely is worth criticizing, though. There's been so much drama going on with that lately. I could make a whole video about it. The last event raised no money for charity. In fact, it lost money. And also, people should pay more attention to this. The ticket sales for Creator Clash have never gone to charity. The charity aspect of Creator Clash is just a fundraiser that they promote alongside the event. The ticket revenue goes towards paying the fighters and throwing lavish galas to celebrate. Like, they lost a lot of money in the last Creator Clash event, but they still threw a massive party, which is, again, further proof that Ian and Anissa don't give a fuck at all about charity, because if that was their primary focus, then the entire event would be going towards charity. The only expenses should be paying the fighters and renting the arena. But no, Anissa wants to network with other bigger creators because she's a talentless hack that's just been leeching off of her relationship for clout and relevance. Hassan's not gonna fly out and get buddy-buddy with them unless they have a room for him and a bottle of alcohol on standby. You could say the real charity was the friends we made along the way.
Us and, you know, everyone on Twitch that got brought down. We all slept there. And the next day was this party.
This was a lavish gala that they held for their friends. And all of this money was money that could have went to charity. Spent what must have been tens of thousands of dollars on this gala.
I'm looking at the food on the table. I'm not really hungry. I'm like, all this food. I'm like,
So
I was with my partner at the time. I was like, I don't know if everyone here is analyzing it the way I am, but we paid for this party. I thought money was going to charity still. When I found out the sick kids paid for that party, not us actually.
Yeah, Ethan has every right to criticize Creator Clash.
Ethan and Neela are well aware that we raised $1.3 million for charity the first year of Creator Clash. The second year we operated at a loss, and I take full responsibility for that. Now, with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anissa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous two events.
So this is what I meant when I said that this whole Content Deputy video was very manipulative. People aren't criticizing the event just to hate on Ian and Anissa. The two of them have been getting criticized because they were running the event into the ground to the point where it's probably going to make no money at all now. So to act like they're getting attacked is just so disingenuous. They lost money the last time around. They're more concerned with throwing big parties and networking with big creators. And they mismanaged their fighters to the point where their headline event quit on them. Harley Morenstein, the dude from Epic Mealtime who was on that phone call you guys heard, his fight with LA Beast was the main event, and one of the big reasons Harley pulled out was he found out that LA Beast was getting paid way more than him, which is already kind of sus. But that combined with Ian dropping a highly controversial and political content cop video just weeks, months before this event, now with all of the drama that Ian has gotten himself into right leading up to this big day, and having pissed off H3H3 fans who made up the bulk of the original ticket sales from the previous events, they were seeking personal gain this entire time. They ran the event into the ground, and now they're pretending like it's the internet's fault that they have to step away from it now, and it's gonna fail, not because they already ruined the event, but because all this hate is just too much and they have no choice. Very manipulative.
I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't, I can. I just didn't want to. I want to be frank. I want to be honest. I was very quiet during the second Creator Clash because I was afraid of how that would impact other people. This year I said I'm going to do something different. I'm going to fight back if someone's trying to attack me. So that's what I did. And now I've realized, like, I can't really have my cake and eat it too. It's either you're going to talk shit like a foul beast on the internet, or you're going to have a charity event. You know, it really can't be both.
First of all, it absolutely can be both. This most recent content cop is Ian's most popular video in a long time. It could have done wonders for the event if he was able to promote it within the content cop. And maybe if the video was a little more well made, it could have actually generated some hype. And the manipulation doesn't stop there. You heard him say that he was attacked and now he's fighting back. Yeah, he's gonna keep saying this through the rest of the video. He keeps focusing on how in his world, all right, in his mind, Ethan attacked him first. He had no choice. He just had to make a fucking content cop on him. He had to bust out the old uniform. Except a lot of people were really surprised to find out that the content cop was going to be on H3 because nobody really thought there was any reason for Ian to do so, of all people. So this whole H3 was attacking us first is a gaslight. Idubbbz is about to give his timeline of events here, and it's a little off from the actual timeline.
You were triggered by this CPS harassment thing, and then you immediately equated Anissa and I to it. That was sloppy, and that was horrendous, and it was horrendous for us.
Ethan never said that Ian and Anissa had anything to do with the CPS situation. Ethan was just pissed off because his friend Idubbbz wasn't willing to publicly support him. Which, by the way, I don't think that Ian and Anissa were obligated to publicly support H3. I actually think Ethan kind of acted like an entitled crybaby when they initially refused. But the problem is, after declining them in private and saying they wanted to stay out of all the drama, Ian and Anissa went on to talk about it on their podcast, the She Ruined My Career podcast. And even though they said they didn't want to get involved in all of this, now they're getting involved in it by talking about it. And they gave Denims and Hassan and Bad Empanada no pushback whatsoever. Ethan was acting like an entitled prick, and Ian and Anissa could have said nothing about this, and that would have been fine. Things wouldn't have escalated. But after talking about it on their podcast and indirectly supporting Hassan Denhams and all them, that's when Ethan had a valid crash out and started seriously talking shit about Ian and Anissa. And after that last valid crash out from Ethan, that's when Ian went on to make the Content Cop video. And if you don't believe me that that's what inspired the Content Cop, just look at this clip from Idubbbz himself.
Ethan's upset with I think some of our connections, and we've tried to reach out to Ethan to talk privately. Basically, it just seems like we're at a bit of an impasse. So we want to stay out of the drama as much as possible. We don't want to pile on and add to anything.
As it is not productive, I don't think it's helpful, and these are real people who have real feelings.
I think harassment online is like, we felt it. We felt plenty of it.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of why there's been a shift in my content, is because it's not fucking healthy for people's brains, and it like doesn't get you anywhere. Like, I would make, a couple videos, the Content Cop and the Content Deputy, and then I would say, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. Let me leave this.
Yeah.
And it was done for me. For me, it was done. It was not done for the people who watched my videos. It was not done for the person who was being harassed.
So that whole monologue that Ian just went on there, talking about how he doesn't like his old Content Cop videos and he doesn't want to make more of them, that was in the same podcast episode as the one where they were addressing their situation with Ethan and saying they wanted to stay out of it, but simultaneously involving themselves in it and not giving Hassan and Denhams and them any pushback. You can clearly tell based off what Ian just said right there, he was not intending on making a Content Cop video about Ethan. Ethan got rightfully pissed at them after this podcast, which I think is valid compared to when they were declining publicly supporting Ethan in private. And after that crash out from Ethan, that was after that podcast clip, 3 weeks later, the Content Cop came out.
You attacked us, so I attacked back, and now you're acting surprised and shocked.
I just said I vented about them not defending me. What the fuck is he like? He's actually losing his shit and I just can't believe it, dude.
Did you call him up?
So go fuck yourself.
I agree. Fair weather friends who are so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ian sucks for the same reason right now. He could say something
spineless. Our POV is like, fuck everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
So Ian is claiming that those clips of H3 venting is what triggered Ian into making the Content Cop video. That's just not true, because that specific rant that Ian showed Ethan going on was the rant from before the podcast clip I showed you. And in that podcast that came out after this rant, you can clearly see that Ian was not down to make a Content Cop based off what he was saying, which means Ethan getting rightfully triggered by that podcast is the outburst that triggered Idubbbz into making the Content Cop. Like, this is so manipulative. He's pretending that Ethan provoked him first, except that rant that Idubbbz just showed happened, and then they go on their podcast, say they want to stay out of it, while simultaneously getting involved in it, give Hassan and Denhams and them no pushback. That pisses off Ethan, rightfully so, and that's what pissed off Ian enough to make the Content Cop. Not the clips that he just showed you and told you was what started all of this.
For anyone confused about the timeline, Ethan was talking shit about us on his Instagram before any CPS shit. He was also talking shit about us on his podcast before any CPS visit. On March 7th, CPS visits Ethan and Hila, and that same day, they decide, let's do our podcast, and let's have the topic be the CPS visit and how distraught we are about that. And then right next to that, right after it, you guys talk about me and Anissa. But you don't just talk about us. You shit talk us, and you imply that we're friends with people who are doing this, who are the ones who are harassing you.
No, Ethan didn't imply that Ian was friends with the people who called CPS. Ethan was rightfully suspecting that he wasn't getting Ian's support because he was friends with Hassan, Denhams, Frogan, and them, which was correct. And the reason Ethan perceived this as a betrayal is because, no, it wasn't Denhams, it wasn't Bad Empanada who called CPS themselves, but they were the ones spreading this narrative that the Kleins were incompetent to take care of their kids and the children were getting sick. And they gave no pushback to the idea the Klein's house is just a total mess with dog shit laying everywhere and kids eating feces. And it's almost certainly guaranteed that whoever did call CPS on the Kleins likely came from either Denim's chat or Bad Empanada's chat. So are creators responsible for everything that their viewers do? Absolutely not. But it's disingenuous to say that they had nothing to do with it when they were spreading all of these rumors in bad faith. So yeah, Ethan correctly assumed that Ian was buddy-buddy with Hassan Denims and them, got rightfully pissed off after the podcast where Idubbbz gave them no pushback. And in that same podcast, Idubbbz openly says he doesn't want to make content cop videos, meaning Ian got pissed off and decided to make the content cop after Ethan was defending himself by calling them out for talking about it on their podcast. Ethan did not attack first. Idubbbz inserted himself into this drama. This drama all stems from a feud with Hassan Piker way back months, maybe even almost a year ago from now, which led to people like Denims keeping a close eye and reacting to all of Ethan's content. And through those reactions came the CPS rumors, which Denims gave no pushback to. And that led to the CPS call. And when Ethan tries to stand up for himself, Idubbbz teams up with his bullies to drop a content cop.
You might have thought we were just saying that Ian and Anissa are bad friends. Well, guess what? We didn't take it that way.
Our POV is like, fuck everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
What we took it as is Ethan and Neil are shit-talking us. They just implied that we are okay with people using CPS as harassment, and now all of their fans are brigading us. So I am going to respond in kind and make a content cop. So yes, that is what the cycle of harassment looks like.
Again, all of those clips of Ethan were before the podcast Ian dropped with Anissa talking about the situation. And even though Ethan said all those things like, they're not our friends, we don't want any halfway friends, you know, his venting, all Idubbbz had to say following that on the podcast was, we've reached an impasse, we would like to stay out of this, kept talking about the situation, and in that same podcast condemned his previous content cop videos, which means he was not planning on making the content cop because of these clips that he keeps claiming are the reason he made the content cop. And then Ethan gets rightfully pissed off, suspecting he's getting snaked and that Ian is aligning with Hassan and Denims and them. And that is what triggered Ian into making the content cop. Ian perpetuated the cycle of harassment because Ethan was defending himself. But the problem is when you realize he didn't decide to make the content cop until after the podcast, then it starts to look like that Idubbbz very unnecessarily escalated this situation and has gone from staying out of this whole thing with Ethan to fully supporting the people who are harassing Ethan. Not the people in chat who actually called CPS, but he's supporting the streamers who helped spread the rumors that led to the CPS call. I know this is all super complicated, but the bottom line is I don't really think that Ian had a valid reason to snake his longtime friend and make the content cop, let alone teaming up with all of H3's bullies. And frankly, I hate that it comes off, maybe in this one in particular, that it seems like I'm really defending Ethan over here. I don't really fucking like Ethan Klein. I just don't. He's kind of a manipulative, self-righteous prick, and he's been like this forever. Gokunaru made a fantastic content cop style video on Ethan few years ago. I wish Idubbbz's content cop video was even just half as good as Gokunaru's. But that's the real story here that I keep talking about on my channel. Ian is washed up. He hasn't been the same since he started letting Anissa run his life. And it's sad and pathetic that he would snake his longtime friend to drop such a shitty, bland, and boring content cop. Honestly, I'm sick of all this drama. It's a bunch of petty bullshit. If Ian were here to really pick apart H3, kind of like how Gokunaru did, I'd be all here for it. He's washed up. He's lost. The old Idubbbz is dead.